Every name on a grave once had dreams. Every stone you walk past once belonged to someone who had plans for tomorrow. Someone who thought they had more time. Someone who believed their story was just getting started. And now they're gone. Their hopes, their fears, their unfinished business, all reduced to a few words carved in stone. Here's the question you need to ask yourself right now. When someone walks past your grave someday, what will they read? What will they say about how you lived? What will they remember about the time you wasted or the time you used? Most people never ask these questions. They live as if death is something that happens to other people, as if time is infinite, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. But the Stoics knew better. They walked through cemeteries. They reflected on death daily. They let the reality of mortality wake them up instead of put them to sleep. And today, you're going to learn what they discovered. These are the Stoic lessons from cemeteries across the world. And by the time you finish this video, you will never look at your time the same way again. The scientists are what the dead are trying to tell you. Walk through any cemetery and you'll notice something strange. Not the silence, though that's part of it. Not the sadness, though that's there too. What's strange is how ordinary it all feels. The people buried here weren't monsters or saints. They weren't characters in a movie or heroes in a book. They were just people, like you, like me. They woke up each morning, just like you do. They had coffee, just like you do. They worried about money, about relationships, about what people thought of them, just like you do. And then one day, they didn't. No warning, no rehearsal, no chance to say goodbye to everyone they loved or finish everything they started. Just gone. And the world kept spinning. The sun kept rising. People kept worrying about the same things people have always worried about, as if nothing had happened. Here's the hard truth. The world doesn't stop for you. It won't stop when you're gone. It won't even pause. The only thing that stops is your chance to live, your chance to love, your chance to matter, your chance to become who you were meant to be. The Stoics understood this. They didn't see cemeteries as places of sadness. They saw them as places of truth, as silent classrooms where the dead teach the living. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote in his personal journal, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being morbid. He was being honest. He knew that the average person lives as if they have forever. They postpone happiness. They delay dreams. They put off what matters until someday. But someday never comes. Someday is a lie you tell yourself to avoid the discomfort of living fully today. The cemetery doesn't lie. Every grave is proof that someday has an expiration date. The most expensive mistake you're making right now. Let me ask you something. If you knew you had 1 year left to live, would you change anything? Would you still spend hours scrolling through social media? Would you still waste energy on people who don't matter? Would you still postpone the conversations you need to have? Would you still wait for the right time to chase your dreams? Of course not. You'd live differently. You'd love harder. You'd work with purpose. You'd say what needs to be said. You'd forgive what needs to be forgiven. You'd stop sweating the small stuff and start focusing on what actually matters. So here's my question. Why aren't you living that way now? Because you believe you have time. You believe tomorrow is guaranteed. You believe the statistics apply to other people, not to you. But here's the truth. You don't know how much time you have. None of us do. The healthy 25-year-old gets hit by a bus. The fit 40-year-old has a heart attack. The careful 60-year-old gets a diagnosis that changes everything. And the person who is too busy to live, the person who is waiting for the right moment, the person who thought they had plenty of time, they run out of time. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, wrote an entire letter about this. He said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and it's given in sufficient measure to do great things if we invest it well. But when it's squandered in luxury and indifference, when it's spent on no good purpose, we're forced to feel its brevity as it reaches its end." Think about those words. We waste a lot of it. Most people don't have a time problem. They have a priority problem. They have enough time to scroll, to worry, to complain, to procrastinate, to entertain themselves with things that don't matter. But they don't have time for what matters, for their health, for their family, for their purpose, for their growth. Why? because they're not treating time like the finite resource it is. You wouldn't waste money if you had a limited amount. You'd spend it carefully, intentionally, on what matters most. Time is more valuable than money. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. And yet, most people treat time like it's worthless. They give it away to anyone who asks. They spend it on things that don't serve them. They waste it on people who don't deserve it. The cemetery is full of people who thought they had more time. Don't join them. The Stoic art of remembering what memento mori really means. The Stoics had a practice called memento mori. It's Latin for remember that you will die. At first glance, this sounds dark, depressing, morbid. Why would anyone want to think about death? Isn't life hard enough without imagining its end? But the Stoics weren't trying to be depressing. They were trying to be free. Because here's what they discovered. Thinking about death doesn't make you fear life. It makes you value it. When you remember that your time is limited, you stop wasting it. When you accept that death is certain, you stop being afraid of it. When you face your mortality, you start living with urgency, passion, and purpose. Think about it. What are you most afraid of? What holds you back? What keeps you stuck in jobs you hate, relationships that drain you, habits that destroy you? Fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of making mistakes. But here's what the Stoics realized. All of those fears are about things that won't matter when you're dead. When you're gone, no one will remember your failures. No one will care about your embarrassments. No one will judge the risks you didn't take. They'll only remember how you lived, what you created, who you loved, how you mattered. So why are you letting fear control you? Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher born into slavery, said, I cannot escape death, but can I not escape the fear of death? I must die, but must I die complaining? He's saying, death is certain. Fear is optional. You can't control when or how you'll die, but you can control how you live. You can choose to live with courage instead of fear, with purpose instead of procrastination, with love instead of resentment. Memento mori isn't about preparing for death. It's about waking up to life. It's the practice that turns ordinary days into precious gifts, that transforms mundane moments into meaningful memories, that changes someday into today. What the stones teach us. Walk through any cemetery and read the dates on the stones. Born or died. Between those two dates is a dash, a tiny line that represents an entire life. Everything that person was, everything they did, everyone they loved, all compressed into a single dash. Here's what the stones teach us. The dash is all that matters. Not the year they were born, not the year they died, but what they did with the time in between. Did they love deeply? Did they pursue their dreams? Did they make a difference? Did they become who they were meant to be? Or did they just exist? Did they just survive? Did they just go through the motions, waiting for a tomorrow that never came? Marcus Aurelius wrote, the length of your life is less important than its depth. 100 years of shallow living is less valuable than 1 year of deep, intentional, meaningful life. The cemetery doesn't care how long you lived. It cares how well you lived. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't need more time to live well. You just need to use the time you have. The person who discovers their purpose at 40 and lives fully for 20 years has lived more than the person who drifts for 80 years without ever waking up. The person who learns to love at 50 and spends 10 years in deep connection has loved more than the person who spends 60 years in shallow relationships. The person who starts their dream at 60 and pursues it for 5 years has achieved more than the person who dreams for 80 years and does nothing. The dash doesn't measure length. It measures depth. It measures love. It measures impact. It measures meaning. What will your dash say? Lesson 1. Time is your most valuable asset, the currency you can't earn back. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow with a bank account. In this account, there's a certain amount of money. You don't know how much. You can't check the balance. You can't add more. You can only spend what's there. Every morning, a certain amount is deducted. You don't know how much. You don't know when it will run out. All you know is that one day the account will be empty. And when it's empty, you're done. How would you spend that money? Would you waste it on things that don't matter? Would you give it away to people who don't deserve it? Would you spend it on distractions and entertainment? and things you'll forget in a week? Or would you invest it carefully? Would you spend it on what matters most? Would you use it to create something beautiful, to love someone deeply, to become someone remarkable? This isn't a hypothetical. This is your life. Time is that account. You don't know how much you have. You can't add more. You can only spend what's there. And every day, time is deducted. Whether you use it well or waste it, time is gone. Seneca wrote, "Life is long enough if you know how to use it." But one person is consumed by greed, another by pointless effort. One is drunk with wine, another frozen by laziness. One is exhausted by political ambition, another by the hope of profit. No one gives their time back to themselves. No one gives their time back to themselves. Think about that. Most people give their time to everyone and everything except themselves. They give it to their boss, doesn't care about their dreams. They give it to social media, which doesn't care about their growth. They give it to people who don't value them. They give it to worries that won't matter tomorrow. They give it to distractions that leave them emptier than before. And at the end of their lives, they realize they never gave any time to themselves, to their own growth, to their own purpose, to their own happiness. The cemetery is full of people who gave their time away. Don't be one of them. How to stop wasting time today? Let me give you 3 practical shifts that will change how you use your time. Shift 1. Audit your days. For 1 week, track how you spend every hour. Not just work hours. Every hour. How much time on social media? How much time watching TV? How much time worrying about things you can't control? How much time complaining about things that don't matter? How much time with people who drain you? Be honest. Don't judge. Just observe. At the end of the week, look at the data. Is this how you want to spend your dash? Is this what you want your life to add up to? Is this the story you want told at your funeral? If not, change it. Shift 2. Eliminate the unnecessary. Most of what you do doesn't matter. Most meetings are unnecessary. Most conversations are forgettable. Most worries never happen. Most distractions are designed to steal your attention, not serve your life. Start cutting. Say no to things that don't align with your values. Say no to people who don't respect your time. Say no to activities that don't move you toward who you want to become. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. Every hour spent on distraction is an hour stolen from your purpose. Protect your time like the limited resource it is. Shift 3. Do what matters first. Most people do what's urgent instead of what's important. They answer emails before they work on their dreams. They handle other people's emergencies before they handle their own growth. They react to the world instead of shaping it. Flip this. Do what matters most first, before the distractions, before the demands, before the chaos of the day takes over. Your health, your family, your purpose, your growth. These things won't wait forever, and neither will you. Lesson 2. Stop caring about unimportant openness the weight you don't need to carry. Walk through any cemetery, and you'll notice something interesting. No one's grave says, "Here lies someone who is really popular on social media." No one's stone reads, "They really cared what strangers thought of them." No one's memorial celebrates, "They never missed a chance to prove they were right." Because none of that matters. Not in the end. The people in those graves spent their lives worrying about opinions that don't matter. They lost sleep over comments that are already forgotten. They wasted years trying to impress people who aren't thinking about them at all. And now, none of it matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself." Think about that. How much time he gains. Worrying about other people's opinions is a time suck. It's an energy drain. It's a thief of your peace and your potential. Every moment you spend wondering what someone thinks of you is a moment you're not spending on what matters. Every argument you engage in to defend your reputation is energy you're not investing in your growth. Every post you craft to prove your worth is time you're not using to actually become worthy. The Stoics had a simple rule. Other people's opinions are not up to you. Therefore, they are not worth your concern. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." In other words, their opinion only hurts you if you let it. Their judgment only matters if you agree with it. And if you don't, then it's just noise, background static, irrelevant. The cemetery teaches us that in the end, the only opinion that matters is your own. Did you live with integrity? Did you pursue your purpose? Did you love deeply? Did you become who you were meant to be? Not, did they approve? Do they understand? Did they applaud? Because they won't be there at your funeral. They won't be there when you face your final moments. They won't be there when you meet your maker. Only you will. So stop living for their applause. Start living for your own respect. The liberation of not caring. Let me tell you what happens when you stop caring about unimportant opinions. You become free. Free to pursue your dreams without embarrassment. Free to make mistakes without shame. Free to be yourself without apology. Free to say no without guilt. Free to say yes without fear. The person who doesn't care what others think is unstoppable. Because most people are held back by invisible chains. Chains made of judgment, criticism, and rejection. They don't pursue their dream because someone might laugh. They don't share their truth because someone might disagree. They don't take the risk because someone might think they're foolish. And so they stay small, safe, invisible. But here's the secret. The people who laugh, who disagree, who think you're foolish, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. They're worried about their own fears, their own insecurities, their own small lives. Their opinion of you says more about them than it does about you. So why are you letting them hold you back? Seneca wrote, "You're afraid of what people will say? Are you afraid of the people who are afraid of what you'll say?" Think about that. The people whose opinions you fear are also afraid of opinions. They're just as insecure, just as uncertain, just as trapped. They're not free. Why would you let them dictate your freedom? The cemetery is full of people who live their lives for others, who shape themselves according to what people might think, who died with dreams unfulfilled because they were too afraid of judgment. Don't join them. Live for yourself, for your values, for your purpose, for your truth, and let the opinions fall where they may. Lesson 3. Focus on what truly interests the 4 things that last. Walk through any cemetery, and you'll see the same patterns. No grave celebrates how much money someone made. No stone praises how big someone's house was. No memorial honors how many followers someone had. But you will see love. You will see family. You will see purpose. You will see growth. Because those are the things that last. Money comes and goes. Possessions decay and disappear. Reputations fade and are forgotten. But love? Love echoes through generations. The love you give changes people. It shapes families. It creates legacies. Purpose? Purpose gives meaning. It's the thread that weaves your days into something beautiful. It's the reason you got out of bed when getting out of bed was hard. Growth? Growth is the only thing you take with you. Your character, your wisdom, your strength, these things are yours forever. Family? Family is the community of people who matter. Not necessarily blood, but connection. The people who know you, love you, and will remember you when you're gone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one, not talk about it, not plan for it, not wait for the right moment. Be one, because in the end, that's all that matters. Not what you said, not what you intended, not what you dreamed, what you did, who you loved, how you lived, how to focus on what matters." Let me give you 4 questions to ask yourself every day. Question 1. Am I loving well? Not. Am I being loved? Not. Is everyone happy with me? But am I loving well? Love is a verb. It's action. It's choosing to show up, to be present, to give, to serve, to forgive, to care. Are you loving your family, your friends, your community, yourself? If not, change it. Today, not tomorrow. Question 2. Am I pursuing my purpose? Not. Do I have a perfect plan? Not. Am I successful yet? But am I pursuing my purpose? Purpose isn't a destination. It's a direction. It's the path you're walking, not the place you've arrived. Are you moving toward what matters to you? Are you growing? Are you becoming? If not, take 1 step today. 1 small step in the right direction. Question 3. Am I growing? Not. Am I perfect? Not. Have I arrived? But am I growing? Growth is the evidence of life. A stagnant pond breeds mosquitoes. A flowing river brings life. Are you reading, learning, challenging yourself, becoming stronger, wiser, better? If not, start today. One book, one conversation, one hard thing. Question 4. Am I present? Not. Am I busy? Not. Am I productive? But am I present? Presence is the gift you give to the people you love. It's putting down your phone. It's looking them in the eyes. It's listening without planning your response. Are you here? Really here? Or are you somewhere else, worrying about something that doesn't matter? If you're not present, you're not living. You're just existing. The cemetery is full of people who meant to focus on what matters, who plan to love more, to pursue their purpose, to grow, to be present. But they ran out of time. Don't join them. Lesson 4. Death removes ego, the great equalizer. Walk through any cemetery, and you'll notice something humbling. The graves don't distinguish. Rich and poor lie side by side. Famous and forgotten share the same ground. Powerful and powerless are equals in death. The CEO, who commanded thousands, reduced to a name on a stone. The artist who moved millions, silent in the earth. The politician who shaped nations, forgotten by history. And the janitor who served quietly, remembered by those who loved him. Death doesn't care about your status, your wealth, your achievements, your reputation. Death is the great equalizer. It strips away everything that doesn't matter and leaves only what does. Your character, your love, your impact on the people who knew you. Everything else, ego, illusion, noise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Soon you'll be ashes or bones. A name, and not even that. A reputation, and then silence." He's not being pessimistic. He's being honest. Your ego is temporary. Your reputation is fragile. Your status is borrowed. But your character? That's yours. Your love? That's real. Your impact? That echoes. The cemetery teaches us to let go of ego, to stop taking ourselves so seriously, to remember that in the end, we're all just people, all equally human, all equally mortal. The freedom of humility. Here's what happens when you let go of ego. You stop needing to be right. You start wanting to learn. You stop needing to impress. You start wanting to connect. You stop needing to prove. You start wanting to grow. You stop fearing failure. You start embracing it as a teacher. You stop resenting others. You start celebrating them. This is freedom, real freedom. The person without ego can admit when they're wrong, can apologize when they've hurt someone, can ask for help when they need it, can celebrate others without feeling threatened. The person without ego is unstoppable because most people are held back by their own pride. They won't ask for help because it feels weak. They won't admit mistakes because it feels shameful. They won't take risks because failure feels embarrassing. But the person without ego doesn't care about any of that. They care about growth, about truth, about becoming better. And that person can do anything. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let them think what they want." Your growth is more important than their opinion. The cemetery is full of people who protected their egos at the expense of their growth, who chose pride over progress, who died with their potential unrealized because they were too afraid to look foolish. Don't join them. Lesson 5. Live with urgency, but not FR, the difference that changes everything. There's a common misconception about mortality. People think that reflecting on death makes you fearful, that it makes you anxious, that it makes you live in dread of what's coming. But the Stoics discovered the opposite. Reflecting on death removes fear. It replaces anxiety with urgency. It transforms paralysis into action. Here's the difference. Fear says, "I might die, so I better hide." Urgency says, "I might die, so I better live." Fear makes you small. It contracts your life. It narrows your possibilities. Urgency makes you large. It expands your life. It opens your possibilities. Fear asks, "What if I fail?" Urgency asks, "What if I never try?" Fear focuses on what you might lose. Urgency focuses on what you might gain. Fear keeps you safe and stagnant. Urgency pushes you to grow and become. The Stoic doesn't fear death. They accept it, and in that acceptance, they find freedom. Seneca wrote, He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living person. Think about that. If you're afraid of dying, you'll never truly live. You'll play it safe. You'll avoid risks. You'll stay in your comfort zone. You'll choose the known over the unknown. And you'll miss everything that makes life worth living. The greatest achievements require risk. The deepest loves require vulnerability. The most meaningful lives require courage. And courage requires accepting that you might fail, that you might get hurt, that you might lose. But here's the truth. You're going to lose anyway. You're going to fail anyway. You're going to get hurt anyway. That's life. The question is not whether you'll experience pain. You will. The question is whether you'll experience it while living fully or while hiding. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It's not death that a person should fear, but they should fear never beginning to live." Never beginning to live. That's the real tragedy. Not dying. Not even dying young. Dying without having lived. Without having loved deeply. Without having pursued your purpose. Without having become who you were meant to be. The cemetery is full of people who feared death and never lived. Who played it safe and stayed small. Who chose comfort over courage. Don't join them. How to live with urgency. Let me give you 4 practices to live with urgency but not fear. Practice 1. The morning reminder. Every morning, remind yourself that this day might be your last. Not to scare you, to wake you up. Ask yourself, if this were my last day, how would I spend it? Who would I call? What would I say? What would I do? Then do those things. Not all of them, but some of them. Don't wait for a crisis to remind you what matters. Practice 2. The evening review. Every evening, review your day. Did you live today? Really live? Or did you just exist? What did you do that mattered? What did you avoid that you should have faced? Who did you love? Who did you neglect? Use this review to adjust tomorrow. To live better. To live more fully. Practice 3. The weekly death reflection. Once a week, visit a cemetery. In person or in your mind. Walk among the stones. Read the names. Imagine the lives. Ask yourself, what would these people tell me if they could? They tell you to stop wasting time. To stop caring what others think. To focus on what matters. To let go of ego. To live with urgency. Listen to them. Practice 4. The gratitude reset. Every time you feel afraid, shift to gratitude. Instead of fearing what you might lose, appreciate what you have. Instead of worrying about the future, be present in the now. Instead of dreading death, celebrate life. Gratitude and fear cannot coexist. Choose gratitude. The story that changes EVR with teaching to the man who visited the cemetery. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man named Thomas. He was successful by most measures. Good job, nice house, respectable reputation. But he was miserable. Every day felt the same. Wake up, commute, work, commute, eat, sleep, repeat. He was going through the motions, waiting for something to change, waiting for retirement, waiting for the weekend, waiting for someday. One Sunday afternoon, on a walk to clear his head, he found himself in an old cemetery. He hadn't planned to go there. It just happened. He started walking through the rows of stones, reading the names, the dates, the inscriptions. Some stones were elaborate, with long messages and beautiful carvings. Others were simple, just a name and 2 dates. But as he walked, something strange happened. He started crying. Not loud sobs, just tears streaming down his face as he read each name and realized this was a person, with dreams, with fears, with people who loved them, and now they're gone. He came to a stone that stopped him cold. It was a small stone, barely noticeable. The inscription read, "Here lies Sarah. She lived every day like it was her last. And because of that, she needed 40 years less than most to do everything that mattered." Thomas stood there for a long time. 40 years less. She died young, but she lived fully. He was 55. He had lived longer than Sarah. But had he lived as much? He thought about his life. The years he'd wasted. The dreams he'd postponed. The love he'd held back. The words he'd left unsaid. He thought about his children, who were growing up without really knowing him. His wife, who felt more like a roommate than a partner. His purpose, which he'd abandoned decades ago for a paycheck. And he realized he wasn't living. He was just waiting to die. That day, Thomas made a decision. He would stop waiting. He would start living. He went home and had an honest conversation with his wife. He told her he loved her, but that their marriage had become empty. He asked if they could work together to rebuild it. She cried. She'd been feeling the same way. They started having date nights again. Real conversations. Real connection. He started taking his children on adventures. Not expensive ones. Just time. Presence. Attention. He started working on the book he'd been dreaming about for 20 years. He wrote for an hour every morning before work. He started saying no to things that didn't matter so he could say yes to what did. He started living. 5 years later, Thomas was diagnosed with cancer. He had 6 months to live. But unlike most people, he wasn't filled with regret. He was filled with gratitude. He had lived those 5 years fully. He had loved deeply. He had pursued his purpose. He had become who he was meant to be. He had made his dash count. When he died, his family chose a simple stone. The inscription read, "Here lies Thomas." He learned to live before he died. And because of that, he needed only 5 years to do what most never do in 80. The cemetery is full of people who waited too long. Don't be one of them. The TRNSFORM and what accepting mortality does to you. Let me tell you what happens when you truly accept that you will die. First, you stop wasting time. Not because you're in a panic, because you're awake. You see every hour as precious, every day as a gift, every moment as an opportunity. You stop spending time on things that don't matter. You stop giving your attention to people who don't deserve it. You stop filling your life with distractions that leave you empty. Second, you stop fearing failure. What's the worst that can happen? You fail. You look foolish. You lose money. You get rejected. So what? You're going to die anyway. That sounds harsh, but it's liberating. If you're going to die regardless, why not take the risk? Why not go for it? Why not try? The fear of failure loses its power when you realize that in the end, failure doesn't matter. Only trying matters. Only living matters. Third, you stop caring what others think. Their opinions won't matter at your funeral. They won't matter on your deathbed. They won't matter when you face your final judgment. So why do they matter now? The person who accepts their mortality is free from the prison of public opinion. They live for themselves, for their values, for their truth. Fourth, you start loving more deeply. You realize that love is the only thing that lasts, the only thing that matters, the only thing you take with you. So you love without holding back. You forgive without waiting for an apology. You connect without fear of loss, because you know that love is the point. Everything else is just details. Fifth, you start living your purpose. Not someday. Today. You stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions. You start where you are, with what you have, and you do what you can. Because you know that someday never comes. Today is all you have. The unstoppable life. This is what the Stoics discovered. The person who accepts death is the most alive person in the room. The person who faces mortality is the most fearless person in the room. The person who remembers their end is the most powerful person in the room, because they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. They're not afraid of what others think. They're not paralyzed by fear of failure. They're not trapped by ego or pride. They're free, truly free. And freedom is the foundation of an unstoppable life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. When you accept death, you realize that death is an outside event. It's not in your control, so it shouldn't control you. What's in your control? How you live, who you love, what you create, who you become. Focus on that. Everything else is noise." The final is on what the cemetery is trying to tell you. Walk through any cemetery, and you'll hear the same message from every stone. Live now, not tomorrow, not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Now, because now is all you have. Now is the only moment that's real. Now is the only time you can act. The past is gone. You can't change it. The future isn't here. You can't control it. But now is yours. What will you do with it? Will you waste it on things that don't matter? Will you spend it on people who don't value you? Will you give it to distractions that leave you empty? Or will you use it to love, to grow, to create, to become? The choice is yours. It always has been. But here's the thing. You don't have forever to make it. The cemetery is full of people who thought they had more time, who planned to start tomorrow, who intended to live someday, but someday never came. Don't join them. Start today. Start now. Live like you mean it. Love like it matters. Pursue your purpose like your life depends on it. Because it does. Call to action. If this video spoke to you, if these lessons resonated, if you're ready to start living before you run out of time, I want you to do something right now. Type these 3 words in the comments. I will live. Not I want to live. Not I hope to live. But I will live. Declare it. Claim it. Make it real. Because the moment you declare it, you start becoming it. The moment you claim it, you start embodying it. The moment you own it, it becomes yours. And if you're ready for more wisdom like this, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Join this community of people who are choosing life over existence, purpose over procrastination, and love over fear. We're building something here. We're building a movement of people who refuse to waste their dash. We're building a tribe of the fully alive. And we want you with us. So subscribe now. Comment below. And most importantly, start living these principles today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Because the person who masters their mortality masters their life. And your life is waiting for you to master it. Go prove it.